spend a lot of time on this channel talk about Brian May's tone, but never get to talk about my own background, which is probably great for the views. But one thing that I've always been is a Les Paul player. So before I was doing Brian May impersonating, I would be seen with something like this. Now, this is an interesting guitar because the most popular video I have on YouTube, just purely because it's been up for 16 years, is me in a dingy studio in the centre of town 16 years ago playing this thing. So this guitar is probably older than many of my viewers, but that's cool. I know this is titled about how you trip out a Les Paul, and it's not actually a Les Paul, so don't crucify me in the comments. I did actually have a Les Paul custom up until about COVID time. And the truth of the matter is I never really liked it, and I actually still prefer this guitar, which I've always kept. And this is an Edwards, and they're made by ESP. Now, the thing about Les Pauls is a controversial viewpoint, but you know, you can get a Monday guitar, and by that I mean one that isn't quite where you need it to be, and you'll always be more particular with a Les Paul because they cost an awful lot of money. So what I will say is, if there's a Gibson rep watching this and they want to give me something like this, you know, Murphy Labs custom shop, I'd consider the gift, just from a point of view of not being too corrupted. But in the meantime, what I'm about to show you here applies to a Les Paul, and this is the most tripped out Les Paul I think you can get, short of adding rockets to it. So let's look and see what I've done to it. I've always played a 3 pickup Les Paul. They're not very popular. A lot of the time people don't get why you'd have 3 pickups, and to be honest, I always thought it was a half finished design. On a normal 3 pickup Les Paul guitar, the switch is neck and middle, and just bridge. And I was a big fan about these two together, because these two together, because they're so close to each other, there's a kind of an out of phase sound, and I always liked that because it always gave me a very nice, funky, clean tone. But I always thought that there's a missed opportunity having 3 of these here with so many possible wiring combinations. So what this video is really about, I will talk about the trem, is about what way this thing is wired. And I'll just explain a little bit about that because there's 3 magical ingredients involved here. I'll start with the pickups. These were built for me by Wolfhound Audio, a gentleman called Steve McCarthy based in Dublin. And this guy is a legend. Seek him out on Instagram. I'll link it below in the description. And he made me these pickups. And these pickups are kind of going after a Jeff Beck and 59 type of combo. So the Jeff Beck being the bridge one and the 59 being the neck and middle. And that was the start of it. And that was the easy part. So he made me those, sealed them up. Nice job. I had this. This is a Freeway Switch. And what a Freeway Switch is 3 positions down one side and 3 positions down the other. So I have 6 switching options on this. Okay. But wait, there's more. To add to the confusion, all of these now go up and down. Why? Well, each of these 3 act as a volume control now for each of the pickups. So you can blend how much of each you want, depending on what way this is switched. But by pulling them up, I can tap them. So that'll pull in the coil taps for each of them. The tone control is now master tone control, which kind of makes more sense to me. And when I pull that up, it puts the middle pickup out of phase with whichever of these 2 you have selected. Now, per the Brian May video that we did about the pickup switches, I'm not going to sit down and work out all the combinations, but I will show you a couple of them because this is a remarkably useful guitar. It always was cool, but now it's extremely useful. So we'll have a look at some of the different sort of sounds, and maybe we'll just have a little jam with it. So I'm going to start with the least obvious one. So this is the neck pickup, and as you can hear, it sounds like a neck humbucker should. But when I tap it, it doesn't sound like a Strat, but it sounds pretty cool. Now, if you're the type of guitarist like I am, that doesn't just have the volume knob on full all the time, this is a nice way to get a nice clean tone, because as well as being able to dim the volume on a neck pickup, we can now make it a single coil and dim that, which makes it nice and sparkly. So, not quite like a Strat either, because obviously the rest of the guitar is still the same, but it could pass for the neck pickup of a Strat. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting. When I roll the switch over to this side, I now have the neck in the middle. Now, traditionally, just making this a humbucker again, that would sound like this. And on a clean tone, it does actually sound a little bit like a Strat sort of in between position, where on the Strat you'd have these two sort of working with each other. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on more distortion and a little bit of delay, because who doesn't like delay? I'm going to put them out of phase with each other, and we'll just see what it does. And I might play something that I've probably played 100 times on this channel before, though I won't be using a sixpence this time. So both humbuckers, middle is out of phase. Now, if you're listening to a lot of Brian May, it doesn't sound like a Red Special, but it's doing something that's not dissimilar from it, which is actually kind of cool, because you could be playing non-Queen music, God forbid, and now you've got something that will really come flying out of the mix. Really shrill, really nice, and really, really lovely feedback if you can get it loud enough, which you can't in the flat right now. Now, let's have a look at something else. Let's put the two of those into single coils. Now, they're back in phase with each other, so the two of them are single coils, and we'll turn off the delay and the distortion just to get a purer sound. It's a bit like a kind of a P90 nearly type of sound to my ears. If I put those out of phase, so they're both coil tapped and the middle is now out of phase, kind of getting into bridge single coil telly territory. Now, let's go for a drive and see what else is in this thing. I'm now going to put all three of them on. I'm going to make all of them single coils, and I'll leave this one out of phase. And this is very... again, kind of very telly like. I'll put the middle one back into phase. They're still all single coils. Again, a very unique sound. I don't even know what that reminds me of. Moving along. Now, that's both of these pickups in series and as humbuckers. Now we'll stick the drive back on and a bit of delay, because this is very cool. One of the things that I learned from the Brian May guitar, just if you watch the video, there's two single coils that he puts in series to make a big wide humbucker, because they're quite far apart. And this is nearly like a Les Paul equivalent of that. So it's all both of these going together. Compare that to your traditional Les Paul, just bridge pickup on its own. Obviously that's the greatest sound in the universe, but this is a nice variant of it. Whoops, but there you go. So let's try something else with that. Let's put those two together and both as single coils. I remind myself where everything is now sometimes. And I'll clean that one up actually, because that's kind of a nice one, nice interesting one. It's just a really nice, interesting sound. Now, what else have I got here? This is an interesting one as well. This is this pickup on its own, which we very rarely hear. Because it's quite shrill. You think it was more like this because of its location, but it is actually very shrill on its own. Let's tap it. There's a lot of sound in this. Now I'm just using a very basic sort of Marshall sort of sound on the Fender Tonemaster Pro, and for the drive I'm using oh my god, what's that thing called? The Minotaur? You know that gold pedal that Centaur Greek mythology sealed in the circuit? Oh look, it's some sort of distortion, it's great. And it sounds, you know, like there's a lot to be got from it, but if you use other amps and different sounds you'll get more out of it again. So I think this is something that everybody should have a look at, because aside from saying various different blues licks that come out of it, it's just very useful for somebody who might be a gigging guitarist, and just having that neck pickup even as a single coil. Actually, yeah, we'll do a bit of that for just a bit of clean work. It's just so sweet. Let's have a look at something else. Maybe I'll do a little track actually. That's the best way to show this thing off. So we'll just bring in the looper and we'll just try and come up with a nice vibey sort of thing. So this is using the looper mode in the Fender Tone Master Pro. So I'm just going to use the looper and just try and come up with a track here actually, just to see what we can do. So just get a nice clean tone here on this. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll bring in the Telecaster. So that's everything is a single coil. That's stuff out of phrase. Just turn down the volume on all of them a bit. Okay, obviously a bit of soloing, so this time I'll use these two together. I'll use the old bridge one now. Make it a single coil. We'll bring in the bridge now. I'm gonna make it a single coil and out of phase. Okay, let's try something else. Maybe middle on its own and make it a single coil.